The four states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, two Webb City baseball players have been on the field together since they were kids. Why that tradition will continue on to the collegiate level. And health experts worry COVID fatigue is contributing to a new surge in cases. For our Something to Talk About, we want to know whether or not you're experiencing any COVID fatigue. You can also participate in our Insta poll. Just visit KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. But first, a check on your forecast.
Wind advisory for our counties indicated in tan. You ask about the difference in the color if you're in southeast Kansas right there. It lasts until 4 p.m. The big difference is just the 2-hour extension. The light tan indicating the wind advisory all the way until Thursday at 6 p.m. coming out of the Springfield office for the National Weather Center is, anywhere from 40, possibly 50 mile an hour wind gusts for today. Wind just won't calm down on us. But what that's also resulted in are temperatures that are already in the high 50s. We're throwing up a 60 right now in Fort Scott. That's above our average November high for this time of year. From the Freeman Health System Sky Camera in Joplin, humidity only 37%. Somehow, some way, able to avoid that red flag warning we had yesterday. That's probably because we even picked up some light rain at Joplin Regional Airport. Yeah, I actually picked up some raindrops. Now, as far as what we're going to see temperature-wise today, it's going to be windy and it's going to be warm all the way up into the low 70s. Now, let's talk about the weekend at hand. Because while we're going to be clear and sunny today, that cloud cover that we do have early this morning, it'll dissipate. Friday afternoon, then we begin light scattered rain, and notice the expansion there as we head into Saturday, where we get a little bit more widespread and we come down a little bit heavier as well. Looks like a little wet weekend. Cold temperatures on the backside of that. Look at that from Saturday into Sunday when the cold front hits. And we just kind of go straight down on the thermometer, then kind of normalize out and get some 50s and 60s next week.
Back to November weather.
Yeah, well, we should be. I mean, we're talking about temperatures that are 60 degrees right now, and sunrise is 7:02.
Yeah. I'm not going to complain about 74.
Crazy windy out there right now.
Yeah.
Crazy
I kept
windy.
thinking somebody was knocking on my front door. It was just
was it
something
rattling
on my
back
porch.
and forth?
Yeah.
I believe it.
Yep. Just things blowing around. All right, thanks, Michael. More than 250,000 Americans have died from the coronavirus. The death toll, according to Johns Hopkins, already exceeds Dr. Anthony Fauci's pandemic estimate in March by 10,000. New York City is returning all of its public schools to remote learning today, as positive test rates hover around 3% in the nation's largest city. And while new cases surged nationwide, President-elect Joe Biden told frontline healthcare workers that President Trump is blocking his transition team from getting up to speed on the crisis. Here's an updated look at coronavirus cases among some of our area counties. Jasper County has had 4,405 total cases. Newton County is reporting 2,805 cases. McDonald County has 1,477 cases, and Crawford County is sitting at 2,026. Ottawa County has had a total of 1,515 cases. Newton County commissioners say they'll soon buy a mobile morgue following requests from Freeman and Mercy hospitals. A number of communities around the nation are already using mobile morgues, like this one in El Paso, Texas. 4 state hospital officials are concerned that rising rates of COVID-19 could limit their ability to properly care for all their patients. Newton County Commissioner Bill Rybolt also says COVID-19 creates even more issues when the patient dies from the virus in the hospital, and a mobile morgue could be a solution.
They wanted the bodies removed so they were not in the room so they could properly clean the room because hospitals are full.
The new mobile morgue will be bought with CARES Act funds. Local hospitals have been calling on area government officials to enact mask mandates in their communities. Now, at least 4 cities in our area have released statements about where they stand on potential mask mandates. Joplin Mayor Ryan Stanley issued a letter saying he would be contacting county commissioners in Jasper and Newton counties in an effort to work together to determine the best way to move forward. 3 other cities, Carl Junction, Webb City, and Carthage, issued statements later in the day saying they're trusting their citizens to do the right thing. Some Newton County officials say a mandate may not be the best course. The FAA gave approval for the troubled Boeing 737 MAX to carry passengers again. Following 2 air disasters that killed 346 crew members and passengers, Boeing was forced to ground the 737 MAX for 20 months. Financial damage to the commercial jetliner manufacturer is estimated at more than $20 billion. But as Caroline Elliott reports, the company's not out of the woods yet.
The FAA gives Boeing 737 MAX the green light to fly again, but the industry is still facing a global pandemic, and it could take years to recover.
I think it was going to be hard enough just for consumer confidence in the MAX itself. Now we have the issue of consumer confidence about flying overall. So this week also the great news is with the developments on the vaccine for COVID. So I think those two things coming together should really help our local aviation industry into 2021.
Through the 737 MAX crisis and the pandemic, Spirit AeroSystems has laid off thousands of workers this year. Now, experts predict the company will slowly call back employees to clear the backlog of fuselages that have sat in the parking lot since January.
With attrition, they're going to need to call workers back anyways within 2021. This will probably increase the pace of some of those recalls, yes, I would predict.
When Spirit AeroSystems stopped production, it impacted dozens of small suppliers in the Wichita metro. Some companies have the same inventory sitting in their warehouse since January and don't expect to deliver the product for some time.
A lot of companies are not going to be open. They're not going to have the cash to start up. That's I think, going to be a big problem for Boeing and Spirit going forward. And that's not their fault. They just haven't received the funding to sustain something like a MAX shutdown and COVID.
737 debacle is among the most expensive corporate mistakes in history, like BP's Deepwater Horizon oil spill. Carthage teachers are pulling out their denim. In this case, the fashion statement is helping raise awareness and money for an important cause, type 1 diabetes. Folks paid $5 to wear blue or gray jeans. It was organized by Ashley Weston, a Carthage school district employee who lost her daughter to type 1 diabetes. Since that loss, Weston has taken it upon herself to educate people about the disease, including the warning signs to look for.
Watch for symptoms: extreme thirst, extreme urination, extreme weight loss. Those are the 3 biggies. While Hannah didn't present with those, so many children do.
The money raised goes to the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation to fund research and education regarding the disease. It's 5:07.
Sunny and windy today. Another day where we got wind advisories that last all the way until 6 p.m. throughout southwest Missouri. Sunrise at 7:02 on the bus stop forecast. 7-day forecast has temperatures lifting all the way into the mid-70s. Then we begin our rain and a cold front. Don't worry about that though till Friday evening. So get out and enjoy a blustery and beautiful 4-State Thursday.
Let's look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, Pitt State hits the road for its final football game of the season. We'll have a preview. Plus, how can you overcome COVID fatigue? And why pandemic is putting rural hospitals in a tough spot. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Coming up over the weekend, it is the final round of the season for the Pittsburgh State football team. Pitt State hits the road on Saturday to face West Texas A&M in the bustling metropolis of Canyon, Texas. It'll be the 4th and final game for the Gorillas this fall. Right now, they're 1-2 after falling to Division I Stephen F. Austin last weekend. First-year head coach Brian Wright says although it's been an abbreviated schedule, it's been worth it for his entire team.
Any opportunity to play this season has helped us and helped our football team come together and grow and get better. And then we have something to evaluate in the offseason and really to work from.
We worked all offseason not knowing if we were going to get to play a game at all. So I think just having 4 games is like exciting for us to be able to go out there and play and not have to waste the offseason doing all these workouts for nothing.
As long as we got at least 1 game, it would mean that'd make everything worth it.
3 Webb City student athletes signed to continue their careers in college. Now, 2 of them, Tragan Parker and Cole Gaiman, well, they're headed to Missouri Southern. They still have some unfinished business in high school. Our own Andy Ciateco has their story.
Tragan Parker and Cole Gaiman have been teammates for more than a decade.
We've been growing up playing together, and we've always had a great bond and been best friends. And so getting to play college baseball is something that we're looking forward to and thankful for.
The two talked about sticking together beyond high school, and now it's a reality as Parker and Gaiman signed letters of intent to play baseball for Missouri Southern.
We went to a camp our sophomore year, and we were like, this would be awesome if we could do this and pull this off, and to finally sign and do it is awesome.
I mean, it's going to be great. I mean, just because we've known each other, we're going to have that chemistry on the diamond together.
Tragan's a heck of an infielder, and Cole's a heck of a pitcher, and I know that's how they're going there. So, you know, they'll add depth for sure. Webb City baseball is a really rich tradition. You know, they got a lot of good players, and a lot of players that have played college baseball. And it's just great to see these guys be able to do that, and it's an added bonus, I guess, that they're local and playing for my brother.
The COVID-19 pandemic cost these two their junior year, but this spring they have some unfinished business to take care of before moving on.
We're ready to do big things after our sophomore years, and for it to be taken away from us was devastating. And this year we're going to work harder than ever and show what we could have done last year.
We're going to make this senior season the best possible, and hopefully make the next 4 years even better.
In Webb City, Andy Ciateco, KOAM Sports.
Parker and Gaiman may have signed to play baseball in college, but the two still focused on football this season. That's because Webb City hosts Lebanon in the Class 5 state quarterfinals Friday night at 7. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, why experts warn the Chinese government is intent on displacing the United States as the world superpower, and a check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. A Thursday morning at 5:17, perfect time for a little weather on the 7s, and it's going to be another windy and warm one. Red flag warning still persisting down there in Berry County. The light tan indicating a high wind advisory lasting until 6 p.m. throughout southwest Missouri, expiring at 4 o'clock this afternoon in southeast Kansas. A little light cloud cover, and it gets a little thicker there as we head up to the north. Even had some light raindrops earlier at Joplin Regional Airport. The important thing, though, is just hanging on if you're traveling east and west, because that wind is just barreling in from the south. 40-mile-an-hour gusts right there in Chanute and Nevada. From the Freeman Health System Sky Camera in Joplin, extremely comfortable, 57 degrees already. Well, that'd be our average high for this time of year, and we don't even have sunrise headed our way until 7:02. Already 60 in Fort Scott, 56 in Neosho, and let's roll 59 in Oswego. The ridge of the jet stream that was at one point in time over us yesterday continues to push off to the east toward the Great Lakes, even flatten out a little bit. Don't have that pronounced ridge that we had, but what that'll do, once again, we managed to stay under it for one more day. But it's going to open up a pathway here as it moves out to the east and allow some of this low pressure that's out in the Pacific Northwest to finally head our way. High today up in the mid-70s, just unbelievable temperatures, but it's just going to be windy as all get out once again. Now overnight the wind does persist at 15 to 20 miles per hour, staying in the 60s, and the reason we're able to do that is the increase of cloud cover as we move into Friday morning. Now Friday, after we get past the noon hour, there's a little development of rain. Not really thunderstorm activity early. We're going to hold that off until Friday night / Saturday morning, and then we'll see it come in from the southwest to the northeast. Got some pockets of heavy rain right there. Even hear some thunder and see some lightning with it, and what's going to be a pretty wet weekend. 7-day forecast will show you on the backside of that activity. Oh, you guessed it. A little bit of a cold front going to drop in right there. So we'll go 68 on Friday. That'll still be wonderful. But look at Saturday and Sunday, especially Saturday into Sunday. Ooh, when you see that high, about the same number as that low, that means after we turn the clock, cold front works in and we drop straight down. On the KOAM News Now Facebook page this morning, also subject of our Insta poll, months since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. Oh, you're tired of it. Officials in some states say it's COVID fatigue. That's a phrase they're using. And they're saying that's what's causing some people to get lax in taking precautions needed to stop the spread of the virus. Shawnette Wilson has the details.
Certainly stressful, I would say.
COVID fatigue is what city officials say has caused some to get lax in taking precautions. And for some, it is real.
Yeah, it's worrisome what it's going to happen with local businesses and all the things that we like to do.
Others say just the opposite.
Not for me, because people dying.
I call it showing out. I don't, pandemic fatigue, sure. Now, whose house going to have 30 people for Thanksgiving?
But city officials announcing new restrictions for Philly say we have to fight COVID fatigue to flatten the curve again.
We've been with the coronavirus now for 8 months, and everyone's tired of it.
It's the same in Jersey, where officials say the highest case counts are no longer from the beginning of the pandemic.
They have come now, when we are grappling with pandemic fatigue and when we know people have begun to let their guards down.
Licensed professional counselor Melissa Harrison points out two things that lend to COVID fatigue: living in uncertainty and getting used to living in fear, causing us to maybe not take precautions as we did in the beginning.
We also need a sense of belonging, and I think once that starts to diminish, you're going to naturally see some signs of depression, even if you're not meeting full criteria for major depressive disorder. And so I would educate yourself to be on the lookout for when things start to really get really difficult for your mental health.
And what she does with clients, she says we can all do. Make a list of what you learned from the first part of quarantine, what you didn't do or did that worked.
Like, make sure you're calling a friend 3 times a week. Make sure you're going outside for a walk by yourself with a mask on, of course, but getting fresh air, of course. And making sure that you have things in place that when things get bad, you're able to not kind of get to your lowest low.
KOAM News Now Instapoll and Facebook page. Are you experiencing COVID fatigue? Log on and let us know. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Health Watch next.
Topping Health Watch this morning, the Oklahoma State Department of Health says there are 56 ICU beds available across the state. Hospitals say the COVID-19 surge is leaving them strapped of resources, and one facility head tells Barry Mangold he improvised to get a patient on a ventilator.
We kind of went into panic mode a little bit.
In the last week, Scott Michener of Comanche County Memorial Hospital in Lawton says they've nearly run out of life-saving resources.
Last week, one day, we were down to 1 ventilator, and that's pretty stressful because if 2 people come in, that means there's not enough for 1. We had a day this weekend where we had to pull a ventilator out of an ambulance called a transport ventilator.
The State Department of Health says there are 33 ventilators in Comanche County. Michener says there's more on the way. Across the state, there are 16 counties the health department says have 0 ventilators.
There is a fixed amount of resources here.
Larger hospital systems in the metro like Integris and Norman Regional Health say they have enough ventilators on hand, but Dr. David Chansom says they fear the worst.
We don't ever want to think about what could happen if we run out of ventilators. We don't ever want to think about what could happen if we run out of beds. But the fact of the matter is we do have to think about that.
Last week, doctors said if the state's infection rate does not slow down, hospitals will run out of more than ventilators.
My concern is we can keep getting ventilators, but who's going to run them, you know?
We have some extra ventilators right now. The hard part is I don't know that I have enough true ICU beds to put them in.
With that in mind, doctors urge everyone to get tested and to practice social distancing as much as possible through the holiday break.
You let us worry about the hospital space. You worry about wearing your mask, socially distancing, and hand hygiene, and having a safe Thanksgiving.
According to Johns Hopkins, the state of Oklahoma has 29,000 active cases and more than 1,500 reported deaths related to the coronavirus. Well, a drug used to treat high blood pressure may offer new hope to people battling alcoholism. Yale researchers found the drug Prazosin significantly reduced severe withdrawal symptoms like shakes, heightened cravings, and anxiety earlier in recovery. The risk of air pollution on women may vary with age. According to a new study in the journal Neurology, older women exposed to higher levels were at greater risk of brain shrinkage, which is common in patients with dementia and Alzheimer's disease. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Have to fight the wind today. Got a high wind advisory in effect all the way until 4 o'clock in southeast Kansas, 6 o'clock in southwest Missouri. But you'll notice the temperatures managed to make it all the way up into the mid-70s. Just abnormally warm today. And not too bad tomorrow. It'll be tomorrow afternoon when the rain begins, light and scattered to start. Then we'll get thunderstorm activity Friday night into Saturday. It's going to be a wet weekend with a cold front on the heels drop us down into the 40s and 50s.
The U.S. reaches another grim milestone as coronavirus cases surge. We'll have the latest on efforts to fight the virus nationwide. Plus, why Joplin hospitals are getting a mobile morgue, and reaction from city and county officials to request for a mask mandate.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, something to talk about this morning is about COVID fatigue. Let us know whether or not you're experiencing any. You can also participate in this morning's Instapoll. Just visit KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. But first, a check on your forecast.
Flag still up and running. Look at that. Just south wind will not give up on us. We're talking about 30 to 35 mile per hour gusts that we've been picking up in Joplin, up to 45 in Chanute. A little additional cloud cover for this morning. It's not going to stick around. Although we did pick up some light rain at Joplin Regional Airport, despite the fact that we've got pretty dry conditions. All right, red flag warning for Berry County. The tan that you see, that is a high wind advisory. The difference in the color codes right there, the Southwest Missouri Central 4-state one, that lasts until 6. The darker color one there, that goes all the way until 4 p.m. So 6, 1, half dozen. It's all the same. But look at these wind gusts we're talking about. We very well could see something up to 60 miles per hour later on today. Be very careful traveling east and west, especially if you have a high profile vehicle. Warm temperatures though, we're talking about mid to high 50s already, and that's way before sunrise. So 57 right now for the Freeman Health System Sky Camera in Joplin, and sunrise not until 7:02. So by the time we get to that 9 o'clock hour, we're already up into the 60s. And this afternoon, we'll roll 70s. We're going to stay dry for today. We will begin to pick up some rain here by the time we get into Friday afternoon. Start light and scattered. Then Friday night into Saturday, we become more widespread. Going to be a wet and cool weekend. Temperatures dropping down to the 50s and 40s.
Well, we got one more nice warm day, even though it's a little windy out there.
Oh my gosh, I can't even open up the back door right now.
It's ridiculous.
I was like forcing it open.
I physically have to lock my screen door, which you normally wouldn't do.
Oh, yeah.
Because the wind just finds a way to burst it open.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's just crazy. All right, thanks, Michael. Well, another grim milestone has been hit. 250,000 Americans have died from the coronavirus. The rising cases and hospitalizations around the country are at record levels, and it's forcing local officials to crack down. Deborah Alfarone has details.
State and local governments are reimposing measures to slow the spread of the coronavirus.
And I need to ask a little more.
I know this will cause some more harm out there.
The restrictions, mostly on businesses like restaurants, bars, and gyms, come as the total number of Americans who have died from COVID-19 passes 250,000.
The rate of growth we're seeing from the middle of October to now is something we haven't seen since March.
A record 79,000 Americans are currently hospitalized.
We don't ever want to think about what could happen if we run out of beds. But the fact of the matter is we do have to think about that.
Residents in Pittsburgh are being advised to stay home as the number of new cases there hit a record high.
I'm done asking, and today I'm telling you that these are things we must all do to bring down the level of spread.
New York City's positivity rate hit 3%, forcing the nation's largest school district into total remote learning.
So I guess we're ready, but we're not really ready.
Health experts are concerned the holidays will exacerbate the situation.
This will be the first time sort of in this pandemic where we have kind of back-to-back events where people are very used to getting together as family.
Chris Hauser's wife, Brandy, died from COVID-19 in October.
One holiday missed is better than having a holiday without a loved one. I'm not going to have Brandy for Thanksgiving or Christmas.
One coronavirus model projects another 110,000 Americans will die by Inauguration Day. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News.
The Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation says with current restrictions, there may be about 360,000 deaths by January 20th. If there is universal mask usage, the total drops to as low as 300,000. Well, here's an updated look at coronavirus cases among some of our area counties. Jasper County has had 4,405 total cases. Newton County is reporting 2,805 cases. McDonald County has had 1,477 cases. Crawford County is sitting at 2,026. And Ottawa County has had a total of 1,515 cases. Newton County commissioners say they'll soon buy a mobile morgue following requests from Freeman and Mercy hospitals. A number of communities around the nation are already using mobile morgues, like this one in El Paso, Texas. 4 state hospital officials are concerned that rising rates of COVID-19 could limit their ability to properly care for all their patients. Newton County Commissioner Bill Ribel also says COVID-19 creates even more issues when a patient dies from the virus in the hospital, and a mobile morgue could be a solution. Local hospitals have been calling on area government officials to enact mask mandates in their communities. Now, at least 4 cities in our area have released statements about where they stand on potential mask mandates. Joplin Mayor Ryan Stanley issued a letter saying he would be contacting county commissioners in Jasper and Newton counties in an effort to work together to determine the best way to move forward. 3 other cities, Carl Junction, Webb City, and Carthage, issued statements later in the day saying they're trusting their citizens to do the right thing. Some Newton County officials say a mandate may not be the best course.
The problem is with a mandate is the enforcement of the mandate. It's almost impossible to enforce a mandate. And then when you do mandate, you do get people that push back against that mandate.
Joplin City Council has set a special meeting for tonight at 6. One of the items on the agenda is an emergency ordinance for a mask mandate. MSSU Board of Governors met yesterday. One of the topics was how the school would handle classes next semester. President Van Galen says the campus will still be open to staff and students, and though most classes will be online, some will still be in person. Well, if you've gotten a phone call yesterday about a volunteer with the Pittsburgh Noon Rotary, it was part of Fantasy Feast 2020. It's a phone-a-thon for Lord's Diner. The diner is a not-for-profit in Pittsburgh that serves free meals 365 days a year to anyone who is hungry.
It makes me a little teary-eyed in the fact that you know, we're on this earth because of God. Our possessions are because of God. And God wants us to give back. That's the will of God. And when we do something like that, I can't think of anything but good thoughts.
Received a $50,000 matching grant given by an anonymous donor. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News. Why putting up those Christmas decorations early could actually be good for your mental health. Plus, we'll show you an Egyptian man's amazing work of art made completely out of matchsticks. But first, it's 5:37.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. If Joe Leet called me and asked me to do something, I'd just say yes. Love that dude. Love everybody out there at Noon Rotary. Fresh air forecast with a high wind advisory. Temperatures all the way up into the 70s. Sunny skies for the afternoon. We will get some rain over the weekend, but we don't have to worry about that till Friday afternoon. We'll be back right after this.
Topping World Watch, we're getting fresh information about just how seriously the U.S. government is taking the growing threat from China. A new report says Beijing leadership is intent on displacing the U.S. as the world's most powerful nation. Benjamin Hall looks at the implications of this from London.
New generation of Chinese fighter pilots landing on a new generation of Chinese carriers. War games simulating the naval invasion of Taiwan, further arrests of opposition lawmakers in Hong Kong, and high in the Himalayas, reports that China used a secret microwave weapon to incapacitate Indian soldiers. China has also now signed a major trade deal with 14 other Asian Pacific countries, the first that unites China, Japan, South Korea and Australia. China has been flexing its military and economic muscles, and the State Department is paying close attention, issuing a warning to the incoming administration saying, the CCP aims not merely at preeminence within the established world order, but to fundamentally revise world order, placing the People's Republic of China at the center and serving Beijing's authoritarian goals and hegemonic ambitions. President Trump has repeatedly criticized Democrats for failing to address China's behavior, and there remains little clarity on President-elect Biden's plans for the U.S.-China relationship.
We need to be aligned with the other democracies, another 25% or more, so that we can set the rules of the road instead of having China and others dictate outcomes because they are the only game in town.
China has congratulated President-elect Biden, but they remain cautious of President Trump. State media reporting that Beijing is preparing for what they say could be a, quote, final act of madness from President Trump to sabotage Biden's presidency. There is a growing and bipartisan belief that the U.S. needs a more aggressive approach to China. Whether President-elect Biden shares this approach remains to be seen.
A White House official says the president will take a more hardline stance against China for his remaining time in office. According to the official, the actions can now be quickly implemented because President Trump is less worried about the China trade deal falling apart. Australia's Defence Force has recommended an investigation into alleged unlawful killings in Afghanistan between 2009 and 2013. The report released this morning alleges 39 killings of prisoners, farmers, or other civilians by 19 members of the Australian Special Forces. According to the chief of the Defence Force, none of the crimes were described as being conducted in the heat of battle. Well, German police use a water cannon on demonstrators during a protest against coronavirus restrictions. Thousands were on the streets of Berlin Wednesday demonstrating against restrictions as lawmakers debated a bill that would strengthen their ability to impose further measures. Police said the water cannon was used because the crowd refused to listen to their orders to wear face masks and keep socially distanced. An Egyptian man recreates famous landmarks using matchsticks. 62-year-old Ahmed Hassan is a radiologist by day and moonlights as an artist by night. His works of ancient and modern wonders of the world include the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. He says he was inspired by his sorrow after historic cathedral caught fire last year. It took him 3 months and 28,000 matches to make his masterpiece. Hassan's other works include the Tower Bridge, also known as London Bridge, and Alexandria's Lighthouse. That's really cool. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Let's toss it over to Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Feel bad for starting the fire pit last night. He could have used it. 28,000 matches. KOAM News Now Facebook page and our Something to Talk About this morning, as well as our Insta poll. It is what's being called COVID fatigue, and asking if you are suffering from it. We'll start with Michelle Pacini. Morning, KOAM and Mama. We say morning, Michelle. Michelle says, so many never did take it serious and still don't. Remember it was a hoax, Michelle asks. I've always been okay with doing my part, being part of the solution, not the problem. And honestly, I have more election fatigue, people fighting, arguing 24/7 still, just no into it. Merle Bass says, stop reporting cases for money. Dave Sorek, the Midwest was shut down too early. 2 weeks to flatten the curve, 30 days to slow the spread, yet it was months before a case arrived in Barton County. Dave says leadership lost credibility. Now that it's getting real around here, it's difficult to get commitment. Dave says, wash your hands. And Kenny Kimmel says, take about the same suggested by health officials in the beginning. Don't go out more than necessary. When I do go out, I wear a mask when indoors or around others. Carry hand sanitizer in my vehicle. Use it every time I get back in the car after shopping. Appreciate the engagement, and you can feel free to leave that your message there anytime. On the Insta poll right now, 73% of you say that you got about the same COVID-19 precautions that you took earlier this year. Now, 29% do say that you take more, only 4% saying less. You can vote. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Be back right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. More than 250,000 Americans have died from the coronavirus. The death toll, according to Johns Hopkins, already exceeds Dr. Anthony Fauci's pandemic estimate in March by 10,000. And while new cases surged nationwide, President-elect Joe Biden told frontline healthcare workers President Trump is blocking his transition team from getting up to speed on the crisis. Newton County commissioners say they'll soon buy a mobile morgue following requests from Freeman and Mercy hospitals. 4 state hospital officials are concerned that rising rates of COVID-19 could limit their ability to properly care for all their patients. Newton County Commissioner Bill Reibold also says COVID-19 creates even more issues when a patient dies from the virus in the hospital, and a mobile morgue could be a solution. Joplin City Council sets a special meeting for tonight at 6 p.m. One of the items on the agenda is an emergency ordinance for a mask mandate. Local hospitals have been calling on area government officials to enact mask mandates in their communities. 3 other cities, Carl Junction, Webb City, and Carthage, issued statements later in the day saying they're trusting their citizens to do the right thing. Kansas Governor Laura Kelly issued a new mask mandate. The mandate takes effect on November 25th. But state law allows counties to opt out, which most did the last time the governor issued a mask mandate. Kelly last month floated the idea of calling the Republican-controlled legislature into special session to have them repeal counties' authority to opt out of her public health orders. Lawmakers are not scheduled to reconvene until January. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Advisory in effect all the way into the evening hours. 40-mile-an-hour gusts coming in. Very warm temperatures for this time of year, all the way into the 70s. We got a cool down coming, combined with some thunderstorm activity. Not looking at anything severe. Kicks in Friday evening, takes us through Saturday and Sunday, but about a 20-degree difference in overnight lows there. All the latest on the SKYWATCH weather app.
Although Thanksgiving is still a week away, many people have gotten a head start on their Christmas decorations, and it seems decorating early may be just what you need. KOAM's Caitlin Shive has more.
Jamie Kelly and her family have a tradition of decorating for Christmas right after Black Friday.
Having that tradition right behind Thanksgiving has been something to look forward to.
But this year they are decorating early.
We started last week. We had a couple nice days, so the husband went up on the roof and started putting up lights and pulling all of the Christmas decorations out of the shed. And we figured we might as well start early. There's not a whole lot else that we've got going on that we're doing, and it's just a fun time of year, so why not make it last longer?
She says that it brings them a sense of happiness and joy.
It does give you permission to just take a breath and spend more time with your family, and we do crafts together.
Yeah, and we decorate our Christmas tree.
And experts say that the mental correlation between decorating for the holidays and one's happiness may be true for everyone who decorates early this year.
Studies show that people who decorate, whether it's early or later, have a sense of childlike euphoria and happiness. And so it is not a bad thing to necessarily go ahead and decorate early, especially with everything going on in the world today and as much trouble as we're having in our own lives.
The Joplin National Alliance on Mental Health is even suggesting to their support groups and clients to decorate early to help them have a happier holiday.
That's really important because of all the negatives in our lives right now. If we can even find one good thing, one positive thing to try to look to and give us hope, I think that's very important right now.
For Kelly, it's a time to enjoy possibly a new family tradition.
You get a chance to go back and watch all of the movies you watched when you were a kid and the Christmas specials and listen to the Christmas music.
Caitlin Shive, KOAM News.
You can find this story on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com.
Boom.
That was a horrible transition. I'm sorry. Have you put up your Christmas decorations, Michael? Oh, have you put up your Christmas tree?
Do you want to let everybody in on the joke instead of just making fun of me?
Michael doesn't do Christmas trees.
That's not true.
Oh, no, you did a little one last year, right?
I do. Tanya makes fun of me every year. About this time it begins, doesn't it?
Aww.
I was actually waiting for it at some point. I knew it was going to kick in before Thanksgiving that you were going to harp on me about that. Yes, the mini tree has not made its way up from the basement yet.
I haven't done mine yet, but I usually wait until right after Thanksgiving to get started.
That's exactly what I'm waiting for. I'm actually waiting for you to start. And then I'm just follow right along.
I'll be sure to give you like a progress report of where I am.
Right.
Now I have 2 places to decorate.
Call me that Friday after Thanksgiving.
I got to get on this.
And I'll get right on that. KOAM News Now Facebook page and Facebook in general, you can go to @MichaelHaslett, KOAM. We got our wind advisory up for today. Take part in our Facebook posts and polls. We're talking about COVID fatigue today. We'll start with John Bodie, who says, I guess you're going to get different answers depending on what county you're from, because nobody had to follow any directives. Who opted out, who didn't, for some reason right now. It all seems like a marketing ploy. John says, my county has a thing on Facebook. Why do you wear a mask? Take a picture, post it on our page. Now you guys doing a poll type thing. Hard to take this thing seriously. You guys doing bleep like this? Filling content, John. Filling content, my man. KOAM News Now Instapoll page. How many COVID-19 precautions taken now compared to earlier this year right now? 70% say been about the same. You can log on, go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote and take part. Be back right after this. Latest gust measurements coming in excess of 30 miles per hour, close to 40 in Chanute. High wind advisory all the way until the evening hours. Temperatures cruising into the 70s. An abnormally warm Thursday. Back right after this.
U.S. reaches another grim milestone as coronavirus cases surge. We'll have the latest on efforts to fight the virus nationwide. Plus, why Joplin hospitals are getting a mobile morgue and reaction from city and county officials to request for a mask mandate.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, why Bitcoin's value could soon surpass the record it set in 2017. And health officials warn people may not be taking the coronavirus as seriously as they were when the pandemic first began. For something to talk about, let us know if you're experiencing any COVID fatigue. And you can participate in our Insta poll. Just visit KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. But first, a check on your forecast.
Winds still coming in strong from the south. A look outside of Television City. Skies yet to lighten up. Sunrise isn't for another 61 minutes. SKYWATCH storm tracker with some cloud cover that has moved in from the west. Even has some light rain at Joplin Regional Airport. The important factor for the second consecutive day is going to be what you see in tan right there. See the red flag warning that's blinking. Let's go ahead and see what we got on that, because that's going to be a new one that's been issued then. It doesn't really do anything for our counties other than hit Berry County, but now we've got high wind advisories lasting all the way until 6 p.m. Latest wind gusts that we've seen are about 40 miles per hour. As we get into the mid-morning hours, we'll get close to 50, if not 60 miles per hour. My goodness, I don't remember the last time we saw winds that high. But I tell you what's feeding us real warm temperatures. We're talking about being above our average high for this time of year on the bus stop forecast by the time we get to like 9 a.m. And so we're going to make it up into the mid-70s later on this afternoon. We are going to pick up some rain. That will begin Friday afternoon. And pick up there Friday night into Saturday is when it gets much more widespread. And you'll notice the cold front on the backside of it drops us down some 20 to 25 degrees from where we'll be today.
All right. Sounds like we've got quite a bit going on this weekend.
Yeah.
And it all starts with the wind today.
It was interesting that you can see that they're expanding the red flag warning there.
Oh.
But still, it's just, and they even lifted Berry County off of that. So our humidity is going to be a little bit better than what we had yesterday. Still, if you're traveling east and west, it's a little bit difficult in high profile vehicles.
Yeah. I noticed that yesterday, like trying to drive different directions and stuff. And whoo.
Yeah, you're going to see wind gusts that are stronger today than yesterday.
Yeah, I'll try to stay off the road. All right, thanks, Michael. More than 250,000 Americans have died from the coronavirus. The death toll, according to Johns Hopkins, already exceeds Dr. Anthony Fauci's pandemic estimate in March by 10,000. New York City is returning all of its public schools to remote learning today as positive test rates hover around 3% in the nation's largest city. And while new cases surge nationwide, President-elect Joe Biden told frontline healthcare workers that President Trump is blocking his transition team from getting up to speed on the crisis. Here's an updated look at coronavirus cases among some of our area counties. Jasper County has had 4,405 total cases. Newton County is reporting 2,805 cases. And McDonald County has 1,477 cases. Crawford County sitting at 2,026. And Ottawa County has had a total of 1,515 cases. A mobile morgue unit will soon be coming to Newton County, Missouri, and will be used to help Freeman, Mercy, and other area hospitals during the pandemic. KOAM's Mike Mahoney spoke to a Newton County commissioner and the county coroner to learn more.
A mobile morgue, similar to this one being used in El Paso, Texas, will soon be under the command of the Newton County coroner. Newton County commissioners say they are making the purchase with CARES Act funds following a request from Freeman and Mercy hospitals, which are concerned about rising COVID-19 rates.
They wanted the bodies removed so they were not in the room so they could properly clean the room because hospitals are full.
But county commissioners want to make it clear. The purchase is a preemptive measure against the pandemic and not a response to a coronavirus emergency in the four-state area.
That doesn't mean the deaths are increasing. The positive rate is increasing. We do know that. We do understand that Southwest Missouri is right now kind of a hot area. We're not experiencing more deaths, however, and so that needs to be understood.
The Newton County coroner tells KOAM that he applauds commissioners for making the purchase and says the mobile morgue will be helpful during natural disasters and other post-pandemic emergencies. Newton County Commissioner Bill Reibold says the mobile morgue should be purchased by next Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm Mike Mahoney for KOAM News.
Freeman Health Systems issued a statement on Newton County's mobile morgue purchase saying, quote, Freeman Health System applauds the efforts of the Newton County Coroner's Office in taking these proactive steps to prepare for possible eventualities. Local hospitals have been calling on area government officials to enact mask mandates in their communities. Now at least 4 cities in our area have released statements about where they stand on potential mask mandates. Joplin Mayor Ryan Stanley issued a letter saying he would be contacting county commissioners in Jasper and Newton counties in an effort to work together to determine the best way to move forward. 3 other cities, Coral Junction, Webb City, and Carthage, issued statements later in the day saying they are trusting their citizens to do the right thing. Some Newton County officials say a mandate may not be the best course.
I've always found you get more compliance usually with education. And I'd like to think that the citizens of Newton County and the citizens of Missouri, that we observe enough what's going on in our communities that we will comply when we see the need to comply.
Joplin City Council has set a special meeting for tonight at 6 p.m. One of the items on the agenda is an emergency ordinance for a mask mandate. Kansas Governor Laura Kelly issued a new mask mandate that takes effect November 25th. In a news conference yesterday, the governor asked Kansans to come together to help beat back the virus.
In this together, and together we'll get through it. And with that,
state law allows counties to opt out of the mandate, which most did the last time the governor issued a mask mandate. Governor Kelly last month floated the idea of calling the Republican-controlled legislature into a special session to have them repeal counties' authorities to opt out of her public health orders. Lawmakers are not scheduled to reconvene until January. A fast-moving grass fire causes evacuations in Shawnee County, Kansas. The grass fire began around 1 Wednesday afternoon just west of Rossville. Fire traveled over 5 miles, putting residents in rural Jackson County and the city of Delia at risk. Heavy smoke from the fire led to nearly zero visibility and even caused a head-on collision. Only minor injuries were reported. The KHP says it forced them to shut down a stretch of Highway 24 for several hours.
Don't do it. We care about you. No outdoor burning today. Even though it's on a red flag warning, it's a high wind advisory lasting all the way until 6 o'clock. It's going to be warm today, 74, but that wind coming in from the south, we've already seen 40-mile-an-hour gusts. Tanya?
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, a rising demographic of business owners.
time finding funding for their businesses. I'm Danya Backus with a look at how one organization is working to change that.
Plus, we'll look at some of the challenges the pandemic is creating, and our very own Jesse Irwin learns about Chase the Chill.
Details on this year's donations.
In Money Watch this morning, Black women are the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs, but face a major hurdle when it comes to starting and maintaining their businesses. Danya Backus takes a look at how one organization is helping to close the funding gap.
Hi everyone, Alicia here, founder of Curly Me.
Alicia Derso is the founder of Salt Lake City-based Curly Me, a nonprofit focused on educating, empowering, and encouraging young Black girls.
I wanted to make sure that our girls knew that they were valued.
Tanisha Hicks owns Isha Aesthetics and Wellness, a pre- and post-op recovery spa in Murray, Utah.
I just worked and worked, build up my name, my credibility.
The two women run very different businesses, but share a common experience: lack of funding.
A lot of my funding was just self-made.
The number of women-owned businesses grew 21% from 2014 to 2019. Numbers for Black women grew even faster at 50%. Yet Kimmy Powell with Venture Academy Beta Boom says Black women receive less than 1% of venture capital.
Instead of asking them about upside, we're asking about downside. Like, tell me how this is going to go wrong. So just throughout, there are just so many roadblocks and obstacles that are preventing women, and Black women specifically, from getting funding.
To combat the disparity, Beta Boom developed New Pattern Utah. The movement joined with 3 other organizations to provide grants and mentorship for Black women-led businesses in the state.
You've been selected to receive our grants for the New Pattern program.
Alicia and Tanisha are 2 of their inaugural recipients.
These masks are hiding like the pure excitement.
New Pattern is looking to expand their program nationwide to give businesses like Curly Me and Isha Aesthetics and Wellness access to the funding they need to thrive. Danya Backus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
New Pattern has also launched in Chicago. Since the killing of George Floyd, other investment and grant-making firms have also joined the movement to support Black-owned businesses. Bitcoin is on a run again. The popular cryptocurrency broke $18,000 yesterday. Some think it could soon pass its all-time high set in 2017 when it nearly hit $20,000, only to crash 50% a month later. Backers say Bitcoin is more stable this time around, with more institutional investors holding onto a stake. That's it for Money Watch. Here's Michael with our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page, it's about COVID-19 fatigue. And officials in some states say that's causing some people to get lax when it comes to social distancing, wearing masks, etc., asking if you have the fatigue. Philip Aaron says, as long as they don't shut down my favorite camping places, I'm fine with things being like they are. Lisa Wickwire, she writes, I'm sure a lot of people have COVID-19 fatigue, but when you have anxiety on top of it, as I do, makes it a little harder, but I still wear a mask when I go out, even though I've heard pros and cons about wearing masks, that they help and they don't help. Good morning, Tanya and Michael. We say good morning, Lisa Wickwire. Good morning. Tanya, say good morning. I didn't know if Mike was on. Dave Pitts Sr. says, fatigued. Tanya, stay with me here. Is Dave taking a shot at me with the quotes? I'm fatigued as all get out.
Yes.
That's a Hayslip saying. That is true. And so, Dave, I'm not sure if that was a shot at me or not. I appreciated it if it was.
We may be fatigued, but just a skosh.
You're not social distancing.
I didn't know we were going to go on camera. I was just leaning into your mic. Gosh darn it.
Well, KOAM Morning News right after this. A little past 6:17. Still perfect time for weather on the 7s. Beautiful shot outside of Television City there. You can see a little additional cloud cover than what we've had past couple of days. Amazing thing is our average high for this time of year would be 57 degrees. We're actually going to approach a record that was set back in 1950 of 75 degrees for the 19th of November. That being said, we've got red flag warnings and high wind advisories. In addition to the cloud cover, we even saw some light rain at Joplin Regional Airport. Now let's once again avoid any outdoor burning. Wind gusts already close to 40 miles per hour here as we await sunrise at 7:02. A very comfortable 57 degrees. That's the thing about the high winds. It is feeding us great southern warmth as we've already seen some 60s on the board. There's another 60 right there that popped up in Welch, 59 in Lamar, and 58 in Chanute as the ridge of the jet stream, while it continues to move east toward the Great Lakes and open up a little path for that low pressure system, still going to be a delightful, albeit windy, Thursday up into the mid 70s. That's why I said we're going to approach that record set back in 1950 of 75 degrees. Rain kicks in Friday afternoon, scattered light, then in earnest Friday night into Saturday. Saturday into Sunday is going to be wet. Look at that cold front, about a 25-degree drop. Now, over to our own Jesse Irwin, who's live this morning.
Yeah, Michael, we are live from Joplin this morning. We're at Homewood Suites, and this morning we are joined by Jessica Tupper-Moss, who is with Chase the Chill. And for those who don't know what Chase the Chill is, could you please just give us the rundown?
Sure. We are basically a charity event that happens once a year annually, and what we do is donate from the community. We have a bunch of collection sites and community partners, and we donate scarves, hats, and accessories, gloves for anybody in need in the community that needs warmth this winter.
That's so cool. All right, so behind you we've got the buckets here that people can make their donations in. How has this evolved over the past 6 years?
So there's a little bit of changes, obviously, with COVID this year. Every year on Thursday night, we're usually the second week of December. This year we're the first week of December. So on Thursday the 3rd, we all meet here at Homewood Suites, and we are going to tag the scarves with a love note before it goes out into the community. On Saturday after, we have everything bagged and ready to go out to the community, and basically we have volunteers that are just going to go everywhere and yarn bomb the city. And then whoever needs it, if you see it and you want it, you take it.
And how many have you been able, how many scarves, how many gloves, what are we talking donation-wise this year? Because it's 2020 is a little different.
It is a little different. Last year we had over 1,000 items. This year we were kind of hoping for maybe 500 to 600. Right now we are sitting at just a little over 600. So we've met our COVID goal, and we have 2 weeks to go. This is our biggest push. So we're excited.
That's so cool. All right, so if people want to take part in it, whether it's donating, whether it's tagging any of these, what do they need to do? Where do they need to go?
They can get a hold of me via Facebook. We have a page, Chase the Chill Joplin. They can message me on there. My cell phone's on there. I answer messages all day long. Just get a hold of me. Let me know what you're interested in. We have crocheters, we have sewers, we have taggers, we have just people who come and distribute on Saturday morning. If your business is interested in just having a tote next year for us, that counts too. And there are many ways to just get involved, so just message me.
Awesome. Well, I would be a fool to not ask you. Why do you continue to do this year after year?
Well, I was just basically a donator. I just kind of dropped my stuff off and walked away. And then the last 2 years, I got involved in the tagging. But recently, my grandparents, who were pretty big in the community with Ronald McDonald House and organizations like that, passed. And so I really wanted to continue that legacy. And last year, Anne passed this off to me. And I just happened to know how to crochet. I was taught by my other grandma when I was 4. So it fit. So here I am.
That's awesome. Well, I'm sure they would be very proud to know that you're continuing this on, because it's a fantastic program. We're going to have all the information on our website. Thank you so much.
Definitely. Thank you guys.
We really appreciate it. We will send it back to the studio, but we'll make sure we have all the Chase the Chill info on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Just head to our morning show page, and Michael, we'll toss it back to you.
All right, thank you, Jesse. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, some healthcare workers say the pandemic is only getting harder for them. Clayton Cummings spoke with some people who are on the front lines at an Oklahoma City hospital.
Exhausted medical workers nationwide, including Oklahoma City's Integris Baptist, are buckling up. This as COVID-19 cases continue to rise.
It's scary for the medical workers that are coming to work every day, but it's scary for everyone just as community.
Though months have passed, it's hard to forget when COVID first arrived in the Sooner State. The comparison now, ER doctors say, to before isn't good.
What we're seeing is definitely worse. We're seeing more higher acuity patients, so we're seeing a higher volume of patients present and the patients that are here are much more sick.
But what has changed about this surge? Tools for treatment. Integris doctors say they have what they need to treat patients safely.
We have an amazing group in supply chain that has worked to secure PPE and other resources for us. So I do feel safe with where we are today.
While beds are a priority, an even bigger one going forward, Integris says, are the men and women caring for those in them.
The people are tired, and the people are our most valuable resource at this point. So we really have to protect each other and the well-being of our caregivers.
Well, according to Johns Hopkins, the state of Oklahoma has 29,000 active cases and more than 1,500 reported deaths related to the coronavirus. Well, the FDA has a new way of getting information out about outbreaks of foodborne illnesses. The agency says it will start publishing a weekly update on all outbreak cases it's investigating. The updates will include the stages of each investigation. Before this, Americans waited for public health advisories or recalls to learn about concerns released to food products. The FDA hopes the new reports will allow the public to learn about outbreaks earlier and more frequently. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Forecast sending us high winds and warm temperatures. We'll challenge a record for November 19th. It was set back in 1950, around 75 degrees. High wind advisory remains until 6 o'clock tonight. Let's go ahead and fast forward from Thursday into Friday, because Friday afternoon, that's where we see the development. Number 1, cloud cover. Number 2, scattered rain. And then as we work from Friday night into Saturday, we become much more widespread. So it's going to be a wet weekend and cold front on the back side of it that'll drop us down to the 50s and even high 40s there for Saturday into Sunday. Those temperatures are actually pretty seasonable for this time of year. We've just been abnormally warm lately. And then as we work into next week, still looking at a good travel weekend if you're leaving for Thanksgiving.
The U.S. reaches another grim milestone as coronavirus cases surge. We'll have the latest on efforts to fight the virus nationwide. Plus, why Joplin hospitals are getting a mobile morgue, and reaction from city and county officials to request for a mask mandate.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, why House Speaker Nancy Pelosi may face challenges maintaining her position. It's something to talk about on the KOAM News Now Facebook page. Let us know whether or not you're facing the effects of COVID fatigue. But first, a check on your forecast.
Got a wind advisory, and tell you what, look at that shot outside of television. See that flag. Just hadn't had a chance to take a break since yesterday. We got a little additional cloud cover that has kicked in, and while it's not a red flag warning, do want to avoid any outdoor burning. It's just not worth taking the chance, as we're going to see anything from 40 to 50, maybe even 60 miles an hour here by mid-morning. I mean, that's about ridiculous. Now, it's feeding us very warm temperatures, as we've even seen some 60s already before sunrise. Sunrise will be here officially at 7:02. Freeman Health System sky camera in Joplin sits at a very comfortable 57 degrees. Even had a little raindrop or two come down at Joplin Regional Airport this morning. Look at that temperature change. We were talking about the double-digit increase from yesterday. Now, it's another double-digit increase today. We've already eclipsed our average high for this time of year in some places, and we're going to threaten a record high. No worry for the kids. If they do take a jacket this morning, just remind them to bring it home, because they certainly are not going to need it this afternoon, as we're going to get up into the mid-70s. If we get to 75, we tie the record for November 19th, set back in 1950. Here's what Future Track has in store. Friday, development of additional cloud cover, followed by a scattered afternoon rain. Then we really pick up from Friday night into early Saturday morning. Thunder and lightning, that's kind of going to hold off until Saturday evening, but it is going to be a massive cool down compared to what we've had in the middle of this week, as we're back into the 50s, if not high 40s there on Sunday. Go from a record high, and then 72 hours later, we're talking about struggling to reach 50 degrees.
Yeah, no kidding. Welcome to the four
I
states.
think we
that's a typical four-state forecast right there.
I think we got a chance to break that 1950 record today.
Really?
Yeah, I really do. Huh. And it's going to be because of the wind.
And where was the 1950 record at?
75.
75.
75 at Joplin Regional.
And it's pleasant when the wind that comes through is warm and it's not a biting cold wind.
No, and you bring up a good point because we're not seeing any difference between our temperature and wind chill. Mm-hmm. Just real fast.
I mean, Grant,
I don't think we'll break the record at Chanute. 78 is the record in Chanute. That goes back in 1913.
Well, we're looking at the Joplin one.
Don't make an age joke. Don't ask me if I remember that. I know where you were going. I read your mind on that. Yeah, it was a nice warm day. As a matter of fact, it was sunny.
Yeah, that record is as old as all get out.
I'm getting coffee.
Did you hear that?
I did. I deserve that.
Okay. All right. Well, more than 250,000 Americans have died from the coronavirus. The death toll, according to Johns Hopkins, already exceeds Dr. Anthony Fauci's pandemic estimate in March by 10,000. New York City is returning all its public schools to remote learning today as positive test rates hover around 3% in the nation's largest city. And while new cases surge nationwide, President-elect Joe Biden told frontline healthcare workers that President Trump is blocking his transition team from getting up to speed on the crisis. Well, here's an updated look at coronavirus cases among some of our area counties. Jasper County has had 4,405 total cases. Newton County reports 2,805 cases. McDonald County has had 1,477 cases. And Crawford County sits at 2,026. Ottawa County has had a total of 1,515 cases. Newton County commissioners say they'll soon buy a mobile morgue following requests from Freeman and Mercy hospitals. A number of communities around the nation are already using mobile morgues, like this one in El Paso, Texas. 4 state hospital officials are concerned that rising rates of COVID-19 could limit their ability to properly care for all their patients. Newton County Commissioner Bill Reibel also says COVID-19 creates even more issues when a patient dies from the virus in the hospital, and a mobile morgue could be a solution. Local officials and communities have responded to the call from healthcare providers to implement mask mandates in their communities. KOAM's Chris Warner has more from leaders in Jasper and Newton counties.
Local healthcare providers have called on community leaders in our area to issue mask mandates in their communities to help slow the spread of COVID-19 amid a rise in cases. However, not everyone has the authority to issue a mandate.
It's not really our decision to make on local municipalities. But yes, I think it's important, but that's going to be a decision for our Newton County Health Director.
Newton County Health Department Administrator Larry Bergner says right now he doesn't feel a mask mandate is necessary.
I've always found you get more compliance usually with education, and I'd like to think that the citizens of Newton County and the citizens of Missouri, that we observe enough what's going on in our communities that we will comply when we see the need to comply.
4 cities issued statements Tuesday night responding to the healthcare providers' requests for mask mandates. Joplin says it's looking to see how the region will respond. Mayor Ryan Stanley said in his letter, quote, "At the close of Monday night's council meeting, I received confirmation from the council to contact the county commissioners to learn their intended next steps in this matter." 3 cities responded in a unified statement saying, quote, "The cities of Carl Junction, Carthage, and Webb City jointly encourage our good citizens to double down on your COVID protocols. We cannot predict that doubling down on these protocols will change the curve, but if it keeps just one person out of the hospital, our extra efforts will have been worth it. We trust our good people to do their part and know in our 3 cities that we are in this together." We also reached out to the Jasper County Commissioners who provided this response saying, quote, "We encourage the residents of Jasper and surrounding counties to please do their part in wearing masks, social distancing, and limiting the size of gatherings in an effort to stop the spread. It is our hope that all residents take these recommendations seriously and practice them fully." In Jasper and Newton counties, Chris Warner, KOAM News.
In Mayor Stanley's letter, he added that after speaking with local leaders, he would present the information to the City Council. A special meeting has been set for tonight at City Hall at 6 p.m., which includes consideration of an emergency ordinance implementing a mask mandate. Missouri Governor Mike Parson has said in the past that he would not institute a statewide mask mandate, but he encourages local governments to do what they think is best. In a press conference, the governor called on individuals to do their part to protect their neighbors.
But I tell you, now's a certain time for all of us here in the state of Missouri to step our game up a little bit, especially rural Missouri. I will say that, being one of those people from rural Missouri, but we got to do our part to protect one another, and it can be done.
Missouri Southern launches a new program that they hope will help freshmen get a head start in becoming future business leaders. It's called the Global Leaders Program. Starting in the fall of 2021, 50 freshmen will get the chance to grow their leadership skills by working with nationally and globally recognized leaders in business, healthcare, politics, the military, education, and nonprofits.
We develop students into talented, well-prepared leaders, and that will serve the region certainly. Also, it is a great opportunity for high school students from the region, if they're looking to come to a great university, be provided with scholarship support. The precursor, of course.
In addition to scholarships, students in the program will get $4,000 that they can use towards undergraduate research and travel to academic conferences. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News. Why Nancy Pelosi could face hurdles to becoming re-elected as Speaker of the House. Plus, are you experiencing COVID fatigue? Maybe just a skosh? We let you weigh in our Something to Talk About. But first, it's 6:37.
Going to be a warm one. Challenge a record for November 19th. It was set back in 1950. Wind advisory until 6 o'clock tonight. Nation Watch next.
Topping Nation Watch this morning, House Democrats nominated Nancy Pelosi for another term as Speaker. But the California lawmaker is facing some unique challenges this time around. Chad Pergram tells us what those are.
House Democrats are clinging to their majority. Yet despite nearly losing control, Democrats are recycling the top 3 members of their leadership team. 80-year-old Jim Clyburn is whip, 81-year-old Steny Hoyer is majority leader, and 80-year-old Nancy Pelosi as Speaker. Pelosi is sticking to a promise 2 years ago to only serve as Speaker through early 2023.
I will abide by those limits that are there.
But Pelosi cracked the door to staying on as Speaker.
I don't want to undermine any leverage I may have.
No one challenged Pelosi for the top job, despite some Democrats grousing privately about the need for new, younger blood.
The Speaker was elected with unbridled enthusiasm.
Pelosi may have won in the caucus, but she needs a majority of the entire House when it formally selects the Speaker in January. That's 218 votes out of 435. But the number of Democratic seats could be in the low 220s, and that would mean Pelosi would have little margin for error.
If 10 Democrats vote again against Nancy Pelosi, she will not be Speaker. You see, the numbers are different.
Pelosi lost 15 Democratic votes for Speaker 2 years ago. She can't lose that many this time, including conservative Oregon Democrat Kurt Schrader. He voted 2 years ago for Ohio Democrat Marcia Fudge. Schrader is noncommittal.
Well, a month and a half, 2 months, that's a long time in politics. So we'll see what actually happens between now and then. And you respond accordingly and vote or act differently.
Pelosi won't have President Trump as a foil this time. However, she does have President-elect Joe Biden.
It is opportunity for us to work together with the president, especially when he's a unifier like Joe Biden.
Pelosi knows it probably just takes a call from the president-elect to shore up any wavering Democrats to support her bid for Speaker.
Democrats are currently projected to take 220 of the 435 seats up for election, with Republicans controlling 207. 8 congressional seats have yet to be called for either party. So close. Well, that's a look at today's top national stories. Let's check back in with Michael for our Morning Talker.
KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll. It's about COVID-19 fatigue. Specifically, though, the question on the Insta poll this morning: how many COVID-19 precautions do you take now compared to earlier this year? 63% say it's about the same. Our biggest mover has been the more category, now at 32% saying you take more precautions. You can vote. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Be back right after this.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Lieutenant Colonel William Sullivan, who served in the United States Army from 1991 to 2007. He fought in the Middle East, where he received numerous medals. His hometown, Pittsburgh, Kansas. We are proud to salute William Sullivan, our four-state hero.
You're not gonna say what up, Dr. Bill? No? I will. Thank you for your service, Dr. Bill. You know, I absolutely love you, man. Let's start our birthday list off with Reven Green, who's turning the big number 2. Sharp-dressed dude right there. Oh, Reven, he's celebrating in Fredonia.
Cute smile there. Grant Beard, happy birthday from Mom who loves you. Beyond the moon and back. Grant is 6 years old in Erie, Kansas.
Transition into the teenage years, and that's where we find Aiden Long. Speaking of sharp-dressed dudes, check out the tie. Hello. 13 years old and he already pulled that off?
That's a
Happy
good
birthday, Mr. Aiden. He's in the O show.
All right, that's a great picture there. And we've got Madison Hayward celebrating birthday number 18 this year in Parsons.
18's a good age, and that's exactly where we find Jada Valley. Jada celebrating her 18th birthday. Happy birthday, Jada and Gerard.
All right, Rachel Morgan celebrating birthday number 26 this year. Hope it's a great one, Rachel. She's in Carthage.
Now this dude right here, not only celebrating his 46th birthday, but he just got married as well.
Aww.
Scott Ewan, number 1, a happy birthday. Number 2, congratulations, my man. Scott's celebrating in Chanute.
All right. And Berta Parks celebrating double nickels this year. Happy 55th birthday, Berta, in Yates Center.
Joanne Coulter, I got a special birthday wish going out to you from your granddaughter, Heather. And so from Heather and all of us here, happy birthday, Joanne.
That's a beautiful picture of Joanne, too. Susie Seipert in Columbus, happy birthday to you.
Who this is? Yeah, look at that. Happy birthday to Miss Tammy. I have had the honor of knowing her for 2 decades now. Tammy, we absolutely love you. You do wonderful things for our community, and this comes with a special birthday wish from Madison. And so Madison, I'm gonna pile on the bandwagon here. And so this happy birthday wish coming from me and Madison. Happy birthday, Tammy.
All right, and in Parsons, Miranda Scott, happy birthday to you. And we thank you for your service. As I understand, you're a nurse practitioner, so keeping very busy these days.
Got an anniversary to celebrate today with Eric and Lori Borland as they celebrate their 32nd anniversary. Congratulations to the Borlands as they celebrate in Carthage.
All right. And Shirley Giacometti celebrating a birthday in Frontenac. Hope it's a great one, Shirley. Julie Wall turns 44 in Minden Mines. And the Galloways are celebrating their 32nd anniversary. Congrats going out to Dennis and Vicki Galloway.
That was me that just said, ouch, I just banged my funny bone. Oh. Lisa and Randy Alsop, they have an anniversary as well. The Alsops are celebrating their 15th anniversary. Congratulations to Lisa and Randy in Columbus. Happy birthday, happy anniversary to all on this warm November 19th. Here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
That's right. You can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club. All you have to do is go to our website and sign up, and then you'll get special deals from local businesses. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com. Sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
All right, Tanya, we're about 10 minutes away from sunrise. It'll be at 7:02 in Joplin. Very warm start. Going to challenge a record for November 19th. It was actually set back in 1950. Dry, warm today, even warm tomorrow with some gradual cloud cover building. Now Friday afternoon, that's when we see the development, number one, of scattered rain. Then it really picks up as we go from Friday night into Saturday. It really should be able to hold off the thunder and lightning here until Saturday evening. But that's also when we see the pockets of the heavy rain. You see the yellow pop up here, and it's going to take us all the way into Sunday. On the backside of it, much cooler temperatures. Seasonable, actually, for Saturday. Look at that on Sunday, all the way down to the low 40s, or high 40s. Be back and wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News for you right after this. Roll some additional comments here. Guy Hansen writes, near 90% compliance with wearing a mask without a mandate, and yet cases rise. Explain that if the mask works so well. 2/3 of 1% mortality rate. When you touch your mask, which the average person does 23 times per hour, it becomes heavily contaminated. Go down here. P.S. Guy writes, the picture you show above demonstrates how you put a mask on properly by the strings. Adjust the mask one time with sanitized hands. Never touch the mask for the rest of the day and you will do some good. Mission impossible. Sally writes, I wear a mask, but I wonder if the FDA-approved treatments made available in October and the antibody treatment approved in November are being used by healthcare facilities. Haven't heard any news outlets talking about this since they were first approved. Had to go to the FDA website to get more information about it. And Will Patriots writes, oh yes, I am most certainly suffering from COVID-19 fatigue. I'm so sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of being lied to by you and the media. Sick and tired of 50% of my fellow Americans falling for the pandemic. Oh, Will, just sit back and enjoy 70-degree weather, man. It's a beautiful Thursday. Nothing to be upset about. Just hold on to your hat. There you go. Thank you, Tanya. KOAM News Now Instant Poll this morning. How many COVID-19 precautions do you take now compared to earlier this year? We've got 60% that say it's been about the same. The increase that we've seen actually comes from the more category at 34%, 6% saying do less than earlier this year. Tanya?
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. More than 250,000 Americans have died from the coronavirus. The death toll, according to Johns Hopkins, already exceeds Dr. Anthony Fauci's pandemic estimate in March by 10,000. While new cases surged nationwide, President-elect Joe Biden told frontline healthcare workers that President Trump is blocking his transition team from getting up to speed on the crisis. Newton County commissioners say they'll soon buy a mobile morgue following requests from Freeman and Mercy hospitals. 4 state hospital officials are concerned that rising rates of COVID-19 could limit their ability to properly care for all their patients. Newton County Commissioner Bill Reibold also says COVID-19 creates even more issues when a patient dies from the virus in the hospital, and a mobile morgue could be a solution. The Joplin City Council has set a special meeting for tonight at 6 p.m. One of the items on the agenda is an emergency ordinance for a mask mandate. Local hospitals have been calling on area government officials to enact mask mandates in their communities. 3 other cities, Carl Junction, Webb City, and Carthage, issued statements later in the day saying they're trusting their citizens to do the right thing. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
I had one left and I didn't get to Chris's, so I want to pass this on. It's a quote from Benjamin Franklin. Chris writes, those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. So Chris, I had that in the queue, man. I apologize for not getting to it quicker. 7-day forecast, going to challenge a record high for November 19th. If I got 74 on there, if we can pull off a 75 at Joplin Regional Airport, we'll tie that record. That dates all the way back to 1950. Remember, it is going to be a windy one today. We're talking about gusts that we've already experienced at 40 miles per hour and the wind advisory lasting all the way till 6 p.m. It's not a red flag warning, but let's be safe. No outdoor burning, please. That wraps it up for this Thursday edition. I want you to have a great, safe, wonderful day. Flip on over to us with Fox 14. We got Jesse, who's live. Tanya will tell you what's coming up at noon later. Be back tomorrow morning.
Today's Pledge of Allegiance is